Okay, welcome everybody. It's that time of the week again. It's midweek, and it's about 2:30 UK time, 3:30 CET time, where we have a session called Ask Me. It should have been called Ask Us Anything because I always have a guest with me. So ask us anything about accreditation. So in the hot seat today, we have Chris Hallett. Welcome, Chris.
Great to be here, thank you.
You're very welcome. So just to set the scene, Chris, as this is your first one, and I don't know if you've heard any before, but we've been described as a guilty pleasure. People just like tuning in and listening to a conversation and saying, "Oh, I didn't know you could be a divorce coach or whatever it is," or "I didn't know I could be coached on that." So you just never know who's listening. But these calls are primarily aimed at people who are interested to find out more about coaching, perhaps working with a coach or mentor like yourself to improve their mindset and their business revenue and all those lovely things. Because of course we're coming up to New Year's resolutions again, aren't we, in a couple of
Yeah,
weeks' time?
and we
So
know how those go.
yeah, so if you haven't already achieved this year's New Year's resolutions, you've still got about 5 weeks. And then coaches like Chris are ideally placed to help you do that. But of course, there are people listening to this call who are thinking about becoming a coach or mentor, and they'll probably be interested in how did you do it, Chris? How did you add coaching to your corporate skill set and so on? So Chris is ideally placed to answer any of those questions. But of course, you may be a training provider as well, thinking, well, in January, I've got a new intake. How do I attract international paying students? There's all the league tables. And obviously, since COVID, where everybody's business is online, it's never been noisier or more competitive. And to stand out in a very crowded market is become increasingly hard. So having a professional accreditation is one of those key differentiators that people who do their due diligence are looking at. So, and then I suppose another audience, Chris, could be people who are master coaches or above and thought, well, I've been coaching for a decade or two and I've never needed accreditation. It's an unregulated market.
Yep.
What's all this about? Do I even need it? So I keep saying it's one of those things you don't know you need it until you need it. And that could be that you're applying for a piece of corporate work and it says, who are you accredited by? And if you can't tick that box, don't go any further. Or maybe you want to work in schools where safeguarding is obviously paramount of importance. You're going to need to be accredited there. So there's lots of opportunities and reasons why accreditation is becoming a key differentiator. So that and being trained, qualified. So that's why I say TQA, trained, qualified and accredited and insured if your country offers it. So that's our audience, Chris.
Yeah.
And if I introduce you now, Chris Hallett,
Yep.
accredited practitioner coach at the IAPCNM. He's known as the Business Breakthrough Coach and NLP practitioner. So he's helping clients transform their sales revenue, their mindset, anything at all to do with business. And you're going through a bit of a rebranding exercise as well at the moment, aren't you, Chris?
Well, it's not so much. It is a rebrand. I mean, I actually launched a brand new business at the beginning of this year, but it's a
Uh-huh.
refocus. It's a refocus of, in effect, my ideal client. Um,
Okay.
because you're absolutely right. It's so noisy out there at the moment, particularly on social media. And anything that we can use to distinguish ourselves from everybody else, to the point where people say, ah, he's talking to me rather than the masses, is going to set you apart. Um,
Yes.
and it's been a long journey because I somebody once asked me, when did you start coaching? Well, I think I started coaching before coaching became what it is today, probably 30 years ago when I was in corporate IT, because the work I was doing was helping people, project teams perform at a higher level than they were, which a lot of it is to do with coaching. Um, but I got involved really, 2000, before 2000, about 2009, where I discovered the world of NLP. And because the one thing that you never learn on any NLP training, I've done practitioner, master practitioner, become a certified trainer, not just in NLP, hypnosis, timeline therapy, and NLP coaching. none of those training courses taught me anything about marketing or
Mhm.
anything about how to sell. There is a sales process within LP.
Yeah.
It's a number of steps, but nobody taught me, and I believe that nobody teaches this in practitioner or master practitioner training, is how to run a business, how to market yourself, and how to sell.
Hmm.
So that's why I've
Hmm.
sort of gone full circle really and focusing on helping practitioners and master practitioners of NLP basically to fill their calendars and market themselves.
Yeah. I mean, you've hit on one of my soapbox subjects. I am so passionate about CPD because when I trained as a coach, I think it was back in 2002, three time. And like you, in a corporate environment, I was coaching long before I'd even heard of the term coaching because I was developing my sales team. I just put it down to development and retention and motivation and things like that. And then I got this leaflet coaching, and I thought, oh, I've got some training budget. I'll go on that. And that's what I've been doing with my team. Oh gosh, I've lost the point. Yes. So
We do.
I've always, recently in the last 6 years or so, since being on the board at the IAPC, and I've seen, although the coaching community and industry has evolved beautifully and it's doing some really good things, 6, 7 years ago, there was this big gap in the market that somebody could be accredited, certified as with a distinction on Friday night, but on Monday morning not have a clue how to get a return on their training investment. So we were busy plugging that gap. Today, I see much less of a need for us as an accreditation body to fill the gap in between the coach training providers and the graduates. There is still a need, but not as much because there are specialists like yourself, and also training providers are taking more interest in either having people like you as guest speakers, which actually we must talk about, Chris, or they've
Mm.
built a business module into their coaching program.
Mm. I mean, CPD is an interesting one because I'm one of those people, I left school at 16 with, I think, two O levels and a CSE before GCSEs. And I
Yeah.
was a musician in the army for 10 years. And then I left. Somebody I knew at the time had encouraged me to do some on O levels on a correspondence course. And then it was one conversation one night that triggered something in me. It was a lady. I wanted to change career. I'd had enough of the army and music. And I spoke to this lady. She was a systems analyst, and she said to me, she said, with your background in music, which is logical, it's structured, you ought to consider a career in computing as it was called then, before the word IT came about. We're talking when computers were the size of most modern houses. And what that did, it lit a fire in me to learn more because for the first time in my life, somebody had said, actually, apart from my music and my other passion, which was dinghy sailing, you can actually be good at something. And that one conversation lit a fire in me. And even today, mid 60s, still learning. I'm just considering what I do next at the moment, having graduated with my degree in marketing. Think, well, okay, what do I do next? Because I want to keep learning. And there's so many people that I see both in corporate life and they've left corporate life, particularly self-styled coaches who have no training, they have no accreditation, they stagnate and they're still doing the same stuff that they were doing 10 years ago. And a lot of that stuff isn't working today. So
Mm.
again, you need to keep developing and keep moving forward.
Mm. I mean, apart from you becoming accredited with us, that was the essence of some of our earlier conversations, Chris, about, have I got my ladder against the right wall? Is there a better way of doing things? And of course, there's always a better way of doing things.
Absolutely.
So, we've been learning a lot from Chris, and around the importance of having a strategy and a marketing strategy and all the different components of that I just really hadn't paid a great deal of attention to. But you have to make time, even as a solopreneur, you have to make time to have meetings with yourself to create that map, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so many small, when I say small business owners, it's solopreneurs and some big businesses who haven't got a marketing strategy. I think it's 49% of UK businesses don't have any form of marketing strategy. And typically the smaller businesses, they've got lots of people doing stuff, it could be SEO, blog posts, but
Yeah.
they've got nothing to bring it all together and actually look, well, actually, like you say, are we even leaning against the right wall and is the ladder in the right place? Where
Mhm.
do we go with this business?
Mhm. Well, I always like to find out more about you outside of work, and I've always known that you're a traveler. You've got a caravan, you've got a boat, you're passionate about, and you can take your business anywhere. So that's the beauty of
Yeah.
this industry. But anything else that you would like to share that fills your heart with joy outside of work? Because you're very passionate about work as well. I know
Yeah,
that.
I mean, my big passion is music. I mean, this office, there's two, three, four, five musical instruments in this
Uh-huh.
office. One which, sorry, two which were bought, and the latest is my guitar. Some of those my dad made because he was passionate about wood. So
Yeah,
yeah, music's been in my life for over 50 years.
yeah,
Because I learned to play a musical instrument when I was aged 11. I often get asked, well, what did you do in the army? I played at Prince Charles and Diana's wedding when they got married, and stuff, state occasions like that.
yeah.
Um, my
What
my,
instrument
my
did you play at the wedding?
trombone,
Okay.
trombone. I was
Yeah.
going to play. I was going to play the trumpet, and I one Saturday when I was about 11, I watched the James Stewart film about Glenn Miller, the Glenn Miller story, and
Okay.
I thought, right, I need to play the trombone. I love that sound. And
Uh-huh.
again, that's one point in time that changed the rest of my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
My other passions, like you say, are sailing, and I love everything about Italy. I won't say I'm fluent today because I'm a bit. Il mio Italian è molto riogento. It's a little bit rusty.
Okay.
But when I've been to Italy previously, I don't generally speak English out there.
Uh,
Um, so it's that.
well,
It's
again,
and
that's the
again,
way your brain works. If you're good at music, you're good at languages, you're good at maths, and
yeah.
you're good at computers.
Well, to me, Italian is more like a song than a language because they sing it. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I guess one of my passions also is, we talked a lot about CPD, the training I've done, accreditation, but it's just becoming better at what I do to help other people because there's so many people out there, whether they're in corporate life, they're business owners, who are, everybody's having a tough time and people go in sort of fits and starts. It's just if I can be the best I can by learning more, that enables me to help other people more. And it could be just a conversation that, it's not necessarily about making money, just conversations with people that add value to them. And, like that lady changed my life, it could be something that changes their life.
Mhm. Well, that's why I really love these podcasts, for want of a better word, because you and I have spent a fair bit of time together, but I didn't really know some of what you've just shared. Certainly not the trombone playing at the
Yeah.
royal wedding. And it just makes you realize that, wow, we've all got superpowers. We've all got hidden talents. If only we took the time to have a conversation with people, we would find out. Which brings me on to the second point that I wanted to raise based on what you just said. And it's why I love the IAPCNM. It's such a community of sharing, networking. And like as you say, you will help somebody, you'll have a conversation. It's not always about the money because you pay it forward, you get it back in, well, in heaps and bounds.
And I
Um,
think when you're passionate about something, that counts a lot more than just teaching somebody. There's a
mm,
there's a fella I was in the army with, and I'm going back. I mean, it's 40 years since I left, and I connected with him on Facebook a couple of years ago. And like me, he was a trombone player, and we were away. We were only 16, 17, and we got sent away with all the soldiers to do like soldiering stuff. And we had the chance to do some dinghy sailing, and this fella Graham saw my passion for sailing, and I never knew this until a couple of years ago. He went off and bought a boat, learned to sail, and turned that into a whole career by when people buy big expensive sailing yachts and motor yachts, he would deliver them to wherever they wanted in the world. And he's now in business development for a yacht building company up in the northeast. And it's that one conversation that changed somebody else's life.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Mm. Well, we all hope to leave a legacy and touch as many people's lives as possible. And I think that's one of the things that attracts us to the coaching profession,
Hmm.
because when we help somebody, whether it's coaching and or mentoring, they will quite often pay it forward, even subconsciously, just
Yeah.
by being a better person to be around with a better mindset, more positive,
Yeah.
more action orientated, and that rubs off. It creates that ripple effect, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. You know, and I
So,
think we talk about accreditation. For me, going back to,
mm,
standing out, that's one of the things that I think people need today to stand out in this market is to set yourself up for success, set yourself apart from all of the other coaches who do a great job. You need to stand above them, and one of the ways you can do that is becoming accredited.
hmm. Yeah, yeah, you're very passionate about being a professional profession,
Yeah.
and that's in the NLP and the marketing side.
Well,
I,
again, I've been involved in marketing for and sales, selling my own services for years. But I
yeah,
thought, what's going to help me stand out? And it was that accreditation.
yeah. And is it something that clients ask about? Do they care about it, or does it just give you the confidence about the
It
credibility? What is it for you?
it gives me credibility. Um, it gives me sort of that, I guess, external validation. Yes, external validation could come in many forms. It could be just the fact that somebody's paid you a lot of money to deliver a service to them. But given where I came from, that professional accreditation, that's part of my values hierarchy, is to be recognized as being a little bit different by
Mm-hmm.
having that professional status.
Mm,
Has anybody asked about it? No. But then I run my own business. I'm sure if I were to go and apply for a job, somebody would say, "Okay, what's your credibility? What professional qualifications have you got?"
yeah, absolutely. I'm hearing this more and more that on the tick box exercise, if you can't tick the accreditation box, then you just don't bother applying. Whereas before they used to say, which organizations are you members of? And that would suffice, but it is slowly changing.
Mm.
I mean, like you, I've I don't think I've ever been asked, am I accredited? What grade did I get in my coaching qualification or anything like that? But as Wendy Firmin Price said when I had her on this program, it's the silent applause. It is
Mm.
that recognition for a job well done. You've invested heavily in yourself. Somebody independent has recognized the value of what you do and what you offer and has given it that seal of approval. But I think, Chris, a lot of people just assume we're accredited, don't you?
I think so,
Because
yeah.
lots of professions are, so they just think we are too.
And a lot of people, yeah, part of the process I take clients through, there are other people who do similar things. But it's almost like they've picked a book up and they've picked out 10 things you need to do, and they don't understand the depth behind it and the rationale for doing those things. There's a lot of talk at the moment about, you know, ideal clients. Everybody says you need to have an ideal client. Who's your client avatar? But actually, there's work that needs to go on before that, and the only way you'd know what that work is if you'd done professional training in marketing to understand where that comes from. Because otherwise, it's very surface level. Anybody can teach 10 steps of a process, but delving into the depths of it, you actually do need that professional background. My belief is you need that professional background.
Mm. And as somebody who's used your services, through the
Mhm.
support of
Yeah.
conversations we're having, I get a real sense of the depth of understanding you have and the lack of understanding I have. And so we're
Thank
trying to
you.
bridge that gap because I've been a sales and marketing director pretty much all my life. But of course, when I was in the corporate world, it wasn't digital. It was a very different type of marketing. It's a science now, I think, with algorithms and all sorts of things to consider, and it's just over and above my head, and I don't want to go there. So being guided by you and challenged by you has been a big help.
Thank you. Isn't it interesting that people, you've just done it, call it sales and marketing, where
Yes.
in reality, marketing comes before sales.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
well-known organization in London that I know very, very well, high profile, and their marketing plan or their marketing strategy is a series of actions on an Excel spreadsheet.
Right.
And for the size of the organization, they have no marketing strategy. They have a tactical plan.
Yeah.
And where a lot of people fall down, I think, is they talk about marketing strategy, but what they've actually got is a tactical action plan. So, for example,
Yeah.
they might say, well, okay, we're doing SEO, we're doing LinkedIn outreach, but have they actually done the work to say that, one, first of all, what's the basis for their SEO activities? What's their keywords they're being, want to be known for? But also, is their audience even on LinkedIn? Because my
Mm.
wife's business, she's an NLP trainer. She works in the health service, the National Health Service, and the people who she delivers her training to aren't on LinkedIn. But the people
Mm.
who pay the money, the budget holders, are on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Just to
Yes.
assume that yeah, I'm paraphrasing it. I love Facebook, I love Instagram. I'll go there. Make sure that your audience are actually there, and also that when they're on that platform, they're in buying mode. Because if they're on Instagram, they might be looking at recipes, they might be looking at pictures of boats and cats and following music. They're not there with their buying hat on.
Mm. Yeah. And I know on your website you've got some sort of mini assessment. Um,
Yeah,
so,
it's called a business growth audit.
uh-huh.
Um, and it's a series of questions that you answer because you
Mhm.
know the answers best about your business. And it looks at 6 areas of business. It looks at what your mission and vision is. It's called the 6M growth model. What your mission is, what's your mindset like, what's your marketing, it's a marketing assessment. It's how you're managing the business, it's how you're monetizing the business, and how you're measuring the results. So the questionnaire scores each of those areas and gives you a percentage. So what it does is it gives you a guidance to where you should focus your efforts on. Because if you've got the revenue that you want and you've got your marketing in place and you've got sales systems, but your mindset is way down, maybe, conversation I had with somebody this morning about imposter syndrome. Well, okay, you focus on sorting mindset out and you're actually going to do even better. And the way I work with people is I do a 90-day plan with people focused on the area that they need to focus on most from that plan, which is very different to most coaches. And when say coaches, I mean marketing coaches, because they have a program and it's a sheep dip approach. Everybody starts here and goes through the process, irrespective of where your business is. And all this came out of my professional development to say, well, okay, every business is different, every business is a different stage. So let's focus on the area that you need the most help on.
Very much like a wheel of life, that traditional
Yeah,
old
yeah, it is.
tool.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Mm.
It's a wheel of life for your business.
Yes, yeah. So what you're saying is a lot of marketing companies take you through their strategy, regardless of where you are, what your mindset is, what your results are, is
Yeah,
a process as
yes,
opposed to actually what you might need at any given time.
absolutely. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So
The,
you're
the,
going to be doing a masterclass for our community, aren't you? I've been asking you to do this, but I think you
yeah.
finally hooked up with Lisa. When is it?
Well, we've got the meeting. I think it's literally the day before I go off to Rome. Um,
Okay. All
So that's
right.
to discuss it and get it scheduled and
Okay.
agree on what we're going to do.
Yeah, well, we have some availability that's come up because
Yeah.
one of our speakers has moved to later in the year. So we have some availability in January. This would
Right.
be a wonderful way to kickstart the new year
Great
for
way to
getting
start the
some
yeah.
members. And,
Yeah.
I don't know whether you need, like a little series or what, but I think this is, as you say, it becomes before the sales. And when I did a survey for the members, 6 years ago about what did you need, and I put it under lack of business acumen because they
Mm,
all said I can't sell, I don't know how to run a business, I don't know how to market, etc. So if we say that marketing is one of the first things, if you can get that right in January, then hopefully you're going to be in for a good year because you're doing the right things at the right
yeah.
time towards the right people. So what's your target or avatar or client?
My ideal client currently is NLP coaches, so NLP practitioners. So there's four levels of NLP: practitioners, master practitioners, trainers, and master trainers. Those are the four levels.
Mhm,
So I'm focused on coaches and master coaches, so practitioners and master practitioners, because generally, once you're a trainer, you have the business acumen to sort your marketing and sales out. I say generally, I know several trainers of NLP who are struggling to fill their practitioner trainings and master practitioners, and they're not getting coaching clients either. So
mhm,
it basically it's the NLP community that I'm looking to attract
mhm.
because, as I've said in some of my posts recently, I've walked in your shoes. I've been practitioner,
Yeah.
master practitioner, and trainer, and I've got years of business experience plus all the marketing stuff that I've put together, bring those together, and I believe I can make a massive difference to people. I've had so many conversations with people who have done NLP training and they're on the verge of quitting to go back into a job because they can't make it work. That's because they don't understand how to market it.
Yeah, I mean it's the same with coaches, isn't it? We see
Yeah.
the Price Waterhouse reports that I think it's something like 80% are not making a living out of coaching um, because they lack the business acumen to do that. Not because they're not great coaches, they are, but they just don't know how to translate that into a business. Let me
Yeah.
just check my mobile phone to see if Gillian has come across any messages because we're live on a couple of
Yeah.
platforms. Um, but while I'm doing that, perhaps you could tell us what's coming up next. I mean, do you have an intake session? Is it groups that you work with? You get a couple together because you've got your 90-day program, or is it one-to-one? And just give us an overview
What
of
I
that.
am doing, and I'm just going to quickly look the date up because I've only put it in the calendar this morning. On the 17th of December, I am running a masterclass. It's live. It's live on Zoom,
Uh-huh.
and it's not using webinar tools. So you're live on Zoom with me, like we are, so you can ask questions and it's for the market we've just talked about, the NLP community, NLP professionals, how to book more high value discovery calls. So
Okay.
basically, how do you fill your diary?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so we're
Well,
going
make
to do,
sure you put that on the Facebook private group, won't you, for the
we'll
NLP
do, yeah,
practitioners
yeah, yeah.
hours,
And
or ask Leah to do it for you.
yeah, well, that's my focus. But of course, if other people, other coaches want to come who aren't NLP
Mm.
trained, they're more than welcome to do so.
Yeah, great. Okay. I hope I'm not distracting you, but I'm melting here in Spain.
Right.
So I'm having to fan myself. Um,
It's
okay.
about 4 degrees centigrade here, so
Ooh, ooh. Well, next week you'll be in Rome. This time next week, I think, or the day after.
we fly week tomorrow, 6:30 in the
Great.
morning from
Yeah,
Manchester.
wonderful, wonderful.
The
And
temperature
I presume,
somewhere between here and what you're
yeah,
experiencing.
yeah, okay. I presume Jill knows about this. We're not spoiling it by going live saying that you're
Oh no
going
no
to
no no
Rome.
no no. We've planned it together.
Okay, all right, okay. So
But
there
sorry,
are
I
no
I
questions
planned
from
it.
anybody. and it's 4 o'clock. So I'm conscious of taking up your time because I like to keep them short and sweet.
Yeah.
So I noticed you haven't got an IAP CNM profile. So if somebody wants to get hold of you, I would normally say go to the directory profile. But you'll have to find Chris on all the other platforms like LinkedIn. But where's the best place, Chris?
LinkedIn, Facebook. My website's transitioning at the moment, so probably the best thing is LinkedIn or Facebook.
Yeah,
Just give me a
okay.
direct message.
Okay. And if for anybody who's listening to this now and thinks, wow, that was a lot with regard to the marketing, and I so need some help. If you can't find Chris on social media, and I know you will be able to, but you can always just use the contact form at the IAPCNM, and Chris will get the message
Yeah.
directly. Or maybe you're thinking of something entirely different, like, oh, I'd like to be coached by Chris. I like his energy and his philosophy and style. Again, you can just contact him through the IAPCN contact page. So, thank you, Chris. It's been an
Thank you.
absolute joy, as always, spending time with you. Very energetic. And I will see you tomorrow when we get together
You
for
very indeed.
co-working.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you very much. It's been
All
great.
right.
Great
Thank
to
you,
be here.
everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.